it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the eNVision Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Portillo, joined as always by my lovely co-host and wife, Lynn Portillo.
Hey guys.
Welcome back. Welcome back to episode number 11, right? And we're in the double digits now, so it feels really good. It's exciting to be this far along in our journey. It's still early on. There's still lots to do, lots to cover, lots to learn, but we're excited to be here, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm excited.
Excellent. We hope everyone had a phenomenal Memorial weekend and that you spent time with friends, family, being outside, whatever you did. We hope that you enjoyed it. But above all, we hope that you spent time reflecting on the real reason for Memorial Day and the reason why we celebrate it, right? We take a moment to celebrate all those who made the ultimate sacrifice for the defense and protection of our country, of their families, and just of all of us, right? We're super happy and super blessed to be in the United States of America. On top of it all, I posted this on our Instagram, but we're both very proud to be Americans. We love it. We love this country, and we know that we're going to get out of these times and we'll get better. Right?
Yeah. I mean, can go into a lot there, but just thank you everyone who serves now too. I know that's, focusing on Veterans Day too, but and Memorial Day is really remembering those who lost their lives to help protect us, but also everyone who's risking their lives every day to keep protecting us. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you very much for your service, as Lynn mentioned, and you guys are the real MVPs. You guys are heroes. You guys are the real MVPs, and we celebrate you. We salute you, and we give you thanks from the bottom of our heart. God bless you guys always.
Yeah, and I want to send extra thanks to those who I have known who've lost their lives, specifically Takeshi. He lost his life to serving this country, so thank you, and thank you to his wife for
awesome.
All of that too that she had to deal with.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that's really cool. So, all right, well, how was your Memorial weekend? What did you do? What did you do? It's like we weren't together.
I know. We had a good, eventful Memorial weekend. We did a lot of just fun, random things, all outdoor stuff, which I really enjoyed.
I think you got a nice tan going on.
I know. Look, up here you can see where I was wearing a t-shirt, but I'm getting some color, which is exciting. I got my Native American color finally coming out, which I've been very pale for a long time.
There you go.
It's been good. But Alex did surprise me with horseback riding this weekend, which was so much fun and much needed. I haven't been on a horse in over a year, so that was like the best thing. Early morning ride in the mountains by the river. So that was a fun part of our weekend.
It was, and it was spur of the moment. I tend to do things spur of the moment. That's again, we're using this, but that's the high I in me. I'll just come up with an idea hits my mind, and I'm like, oh, let's go do that. So very spontaneous, and I feel like I failed. I'll be honest and say I feel like I failed on Lynn's Mother's Day gift. So this was my attempt at making up for it. Okay, so here's the truth. At least for me, I've told Lynn many times that she's big at celebrating all the holidays. She's big at celebrating Easter, Halloween. Well, I guess Halloween not as much anymore, but Easter, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, like all the big holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving.
Is gonna have some themed food in it and decorations.
So she's very big on that. And now Mother's Day and Father's Day, this is our first time going through this day and us being a part of it in that sense of being father, of being a mother. And so I always tell her I don't like to make big deal out of the holidays. I just like to spend time with family and friends and just enjoy each other's company. So I try to not earlier in our relationship, I would say we did a lot of gift exchanging, but now we're in a phase or in a stage in life where we just want to have experiences. So I do a lot of trips. I'll plan a lot of trips for us to just go, even if it's just a weekend trip. We'll go somewhere, we'll camp, we'll go visit a new city or go visit some of our favorite cities or towns or what have you. But anyways, for Mother's Day, I feel like I just failed. I feel like I dropped the ball and I didn't do as much as I could have. So I was going through my week and all of a sudden I started thinking, I'm like, well, it's Memorial Day weekend. What can we do? I actually thought about going to go shed hunting again. And that's a very selfish thought and very selfish decision. I told Lynn, I talked to her Thursday night and I was like, you know what? I might just drive out to Ely. I don't know who would want to go. Maybe I'll go by myself, but I'll just go out for the weekend. And then I stopped myself later on. I started planning it in my head, but then I stopped myself and I was like, Alex, no. Like, you've already gone shed hunting. This is a good weekend to be with your family. This is a good weekend to spend time and take them out and take them outdoors. So don't be selfish. today, spend time with Lynn, make up for Mother's Day. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that, huh? I dropped the ball there. So I started doing some research, and I just typed in, horseback riding near me, and we found a spot about 30 minutes from us, and it was beautiful. It goes through national forest, and then the ride that we did was a Trail Creek ride. And so we went down, the mountain, and then we crossed the creek a couple of times, which was really cool. Our guide was awesome. She was super cool and super phenomenal. We built a really good relationship with her. So shout out to you. And let's see what else. Oh, yeah, I guess I could tell them about how it went for me.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So
I was hoping you'd just hop in and share how his horseback riding went.
So she's laughing because, as I told her, I think my pride took more of a hit than anything else. Now, I grew up with horses to some extent. On my dad's side of the family, my grandparents had a ranch, and although when I visited them, very little, when I was little, like very little is when they had the ranch, I still remember some of the memories. And obviously there's pictures of me riding the horses and then milking the cows and all that stuff. So I can say that, I grew up as a child, or as a little kid, as a toddler, I grew up in a ranch or around a ranch. And so I've been around horses. I like horses. I love horses. I enjoy them. And but we don't own any, and Lynn doesn't own any, her family doesn't own any, and my family doesn't own any anymore. And so anytime I get to be around them, it's just exciting to embrace that part of me that I've always enjoyed. Not only that, but I love being outside. I love being in nature. I love being out in the country, in the mountains. So horseback riding just makes it that much more fun, in my opinion. Well, anyways, we're at the ride, right? We get to the destination. We get to the what's it called, the headquarters, the ranch. And we get our horses are all saddled up. We meet our guide, and she goes over the rules. She goes over kind of like what we're going to do, where we're going to cross, what the trail feels like, what it looks like, and just asks any questions. She asked what our experience in riding is. We told her that we've both ridden many a times. And so she was like, all right, cool. And it was really, the cool part about it too is that early morning, it was just us.
Yeah, it was just us on the ride. Normally you have like a huge
you have a group of people, or if you want it to be a private, it's a little bit more expensive, and it was just us too, and so I wasn't going to make a big deal about it. I'm like, yeah, if we're a group of people, that's cool. If not, we'll go from there. But anyway, it ended up being just us, which was really cool. So as we're getting ready to leave, both of us are mounted. Our trail guide gets on her horse. And she goes, well, before that, she introduces us to our horses, and Lynn goes first. What was your horse's name? Shasta? No.
Yours is Shasta.
Mine's Shasta. But
mine was Harley.
Harley. She goes, Harley's a big sweetheart. You'll be fine.
But he's sassy.
He's a little sassy from time to time, so you may just have to, pull on the reins a little bit, but, then give him back his head and he'll be fine. And then for me, she goes, you have Shasta. Now, I will be honest with you. Shasta's a little shy and can be a little stubborn. So just be careful, just be aware. Or do you feel comfortable with that? I'm like, yeah, sure. I have no problem. I've been around horses that are like that. And she's like, all right, cool. So I mount, Lynn's mounted, she mounts. Before we leave, she goes, okay, so we're going to be going through national forest. There's a good chance that we're going to see a bunch of wildlife, maybe some deers. On a rare occasion, there's been bear sightings or nearby, but I don't think we'll see them on this, or today, or on this ride. Lynn in her head, she's like, oh, I hope we see them.
Of
and
course.
Internally, I was hoping to see them too. I think they're cool. So, or it'd be cool to see them horseback riding. But then she goes, if you see deer or if you see any wildlife, deer is most likely what we're going to find. Yell it out or say something, that way we're all aware. And so we're like, all right, cool. Yeah, no problem. So we go on our ride. Everything's going great. It was an 1.5-hour trail ride. We're probably an hour into the ride. Actually, we're headed back to the barn, headed back to the ranch. And out of my peripheral vision, out of my left side, I just see, boop, a little deer stand up, a doe stand up. And before I could yell, before I could say anything and say deer, my horse spooks and kicks up. And I'm trying to mount it back up, and I'm holding on. I'm like, oh! And mind you, all of this, what I'm about to explain, all of this happened like in seconds, like
so
less than 4 or 5 seconds. All of this whole scenario played out. So mine spooks up and jumps up because he's the first one that sees him.
Like full on, like movie jumping up when he's
Yeah, and so I'm holding on, And then my horse stomps down, but then scoots over and bumps Lynn's horse, which then caused Lynn's horse to panic, and he bucks. And Lynn starts going forward, but she's able to hold onto the saddle and hold onto the reins.
And I had my hands twisted around his mane, trying to stay on.
And then the third trigger effect was then Lynn's horse spooked our trail guide's horse, and her horse just, like, starts bucking and jumping, and he's like running around. And all this happened in 4 or 5 seconds. Mine kicks up again, and I start thinking, worst case scenario. I'm like, well, if he continues in a panic and I don't control him, he's probably gonna hit Lynn's horse again, and then Lynn could fall off. You know what? Like, let me just slide off. So I just let go, and I just slowly slid off the saddle, landed on the side hill. I didn't hurt my head. I didn't have any whiplash. It was like, when I say it was like really smooth, it was just a real smooth slide off. Mm-hmm. And then the worst part. My horse drops back down after I fall and steps with his front legs, starts scooting sideways because he's just trying to get out of there. Meanwhile, I just see the deer still standing over the left of us, and he's just like out, watching. And then my horse, as he steps sideways, steps on me, steps right in the middle of my quad. I told Lynn this afterwards. I was like 2 inches to the left, and Rhaegar may have been the only son we had. Like, that should paint the picture of how close that horse stepped on me. And so I quickly just, I felt the pressure. I felt the step. I was like, ah! And then he got out. And then Lynn's asking, like, are you okay? Are you okay? Our trail guide, she's like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I stand up, and the way I fell on my side, so the wind got knocked out of me a little bit, but it wasn't bad. Mm-hmm. So I just stand up, and I'm like, okay. I was like, yeah, I'm good. And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, can you stand up? Is anything broken? And I go, and I bend down, and then I'm like, and I start like feeling around, no blood. I'm like, no, I think we're good. She's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. And then she's like, did anything else happen? At this time, I didn't tell them that I got stepped on. I was like, no, I'm fine. And she's like, can you walk? Meanwhile, my horse is like 400 yards in front of us already down the trail going home.
He was sad and scared.
And she goes, look at him, poor Shasta. He's so embarrassed that he took you down. I was like, no, it's fine. She's like, are you sure you're fine? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. She's like, can you walk? I was like, yeah, no worries. So I start walking behind them, and she's like, all right, well, let's go find him. Let's see if he stops. And so we start walking, and nope, he's just trotting along, headed home. So she calls her, someone from the ranch, she calls her for some help. The other wrangler comes down, meets us down at the trail, grabs Shasta, and then they start walking back towards us. And so we're all talking, just kind of like what happened and just going through the whole scenario. Mm-hmm. And, she was telling Lynn how she was impressed on how Lynn mounted the horse and stayed on the saddle, and everything was great. And I told her, I was like, honestly, I think my pride is more hurt than anything else, because anytime you just get knocked off of a horse, at least as a guy, it's a pride thing, right? It's a sad thing. It's a sad moment. Your ego gets hurt. And so we get back to my horse, and she goes, do you want to get back on? I'm like, yeah, of course. And she's just like, wait, really? I was like, yeah. And then she's just like, oh. And so I hop back on, and once I get on the back on the saddle, she's like, oh, okay, well, that's awesome. I'm glad. I was like, well, what's the point of getting on the horse if you're afraid of falling? I mean, that's part of the whole situation, right? In fact, Tim McGraw's song, one of my favorite songs that he sings, "The Cowboy in Me," one of the lines that he says is, we ride and don't worry about the fall. Mm-hmm. Right, and so I think that's very important to share. I think that's very important to say. So I honestly, Lynn and our trail guide kept on checking in. Are you okay? Are you okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, I promise, I'm fine. Lynn, once we got back to the ranch and we got off and everything, she's like, are you okay for sure? I'm like, no, I promise you, I'm fine. I'm not stressed. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. Mm-hmm. I'm not freaking out. I'm not nervous. Like, as soon as I got back to Shasta, I petted his face. I gave him a kiss, and I said, hey, it's all good. Let's get back on it. I jumped back on, and we finished the ride. Mm-hmm. And so it was a great feeling. It was really cool to be able to do that. And now we have a story to tell. Mm-hmm. Here's what I told the trail guide. Again, I mentioned this earlier. It was a doe buck. It was a female, a doe deer.
A doe buck. I wish that was a thing.
It's like a jackalope. It's a doe deer, so it's a female deer. I told her that I'm going to tell everyone it was a big 5-point buck, like 40-inch spread, biggest deer I'd ever seen. And she started laughing. I'm like, hey, what's the saying, right? Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. So so that's the story I'm sharing with everyone mm-hmm. else, except for you guys. You guys get the truth. It was a doe that spooked us. And like I said, once all of those events happened, I look over again to my left, and she's just staring at us. Like, she's not even spooked. I think she was probably laughing at the whole situation, everything that happened.
Yeah, she's got him.
And then once we started walking, she just kind of like casually walked away. But didn't jolt, didn't bust out, nothing. She just watched.
Yeah, she's a chill deer. All of our horses were very sensitive to it too. Yeah. I was just thinking when we were doing that, if that was not an experienced rider, because everyone goes on that path, it just depends on how far and long you go. Unexperienced riders who don't know how to fall, that would be scary for them. Like, I could see it was so hard staying on a bucking horse.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always had respect for bronc riders, but man, I was holding onto those reins and pulling him in and had his mane wrapped around my hand because he was bucking me forward. So Alex, he was able to slide back, but if I was going forward, I'd be going head first. So I was a little more scared on being bucked off. But it's a lot harder than you'd think. And you're up a lot higher, too. So, like, the fall for you and going back, like, it's not, let me just hop off the horse.
No. And I'm just I thank God, if everything had to play out the way it did, I'm glad, and I thank God that it went out, that it went the way it did. Because I just slid, and very easily, my boots could have gotten caught on the stirrups. Very easily, I could have gotten tangled. Very easily, he could have stepped 2 inches to the left and hurt something else.
Yeah.
Or he could have dropped down. Or in fact, you never know how a horse is going to react, especially if it's not your horse, right? So he could have gotten scared and started kicking up and bucking, and then I have rodeo cowboy friends, and I have one friend in particular who got kicked in the face. He's a saddle bronc rider. Oh no, he's a bareback rider. He's a bareback rider, and he got kicked in the face. And I wasn't there for that rodeo, but it was not pretty.
I'm sure.
And so I can only imagine a full force kick that way. And then I have another friend who is a saddle bronc rider, and I got to see a lot of his rodeos. That's a story for another time. But I traveled with him one summer for the circuit in the West Coast, and it was a lot of fun. For those of you, if you are a rodeo cowboy or rodeo cowgirl, my hat's off and respects to the driving and everything that goes along with that kind
commitment,
of with that kind of lifestyle.
Discipline.
I will say it was some of the funnest nights of my entire life. That was that was a good time.
Stories are wild.
That was a good time. So, but other than that, no, I'm happy that it all worked out. I'm happy that we got home safe, that the horses were fine, nothing out of the extraordinary there. And then Lynn and I talked about it afterwards, and we started thinking about when we wanted to go back because we really liked it.
Yeah, we loved it. I'm not afraid of falling off the horse. It was so much fun. I'd go back right now. And
Lynn got very excited because they told her that they'll start doing horseback riding lessons at age 3. So she's already like thinking, Rhaegar, this is where we're going to go, this is what he's going to do.
Yeah, well, we both grew up with horses and been involved in that ranch life and understand it, and I want him to be able to know how to ride a horse, be comfortable around horses, and it also is just really good discipline. You learn hard work through just taking care of horses. I mean, I was telling while we were doing this, I did a horse camp when I was younger, and I always wanted to gallop, and you're not allowed to do that. So I would be in trouble and have to clean up all the poop at the end of the day for the camp. But it taught me good lessons and stuff too, because if you want a horse, you have to take care of a horse. It's like a dog. You gotta walk them and feed them. Only way more work and more expensive. So I think it'll just be really cute to see our little baby with a little helmet on a horse.
Well, we saw the ponies.
Yeah, they start on like miniature ponies. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's so cute.
Yeah, we saw the ponies. They were
Stay
near
tuned.
the
3
corral.
years from now, Rhaegar's gonna be on horses.
Yeah, it was cool. No, we really enjoyed it, and I'll ask you this because I want to ask your perspective on how you started off the conversation about the trail ride, but what did you get? We talked about this a little bit afterwards, and I think it's worth sharing. What was the perspective you got from that trail ride, or what were your overall thoughts?
Well, I just wanted to cry of happiness of how amazing it felt being out there early in the morning. I mean, it wasn't super early, but right when they opened, 8:30 in the morning, riding in these hills of sagebrush, pine trees. You could hear the water flowing from the creek. It was fresh, cool out, beautiful, quiet, peaceful. It was just good perspective of how important nature is for us
Yeah.
and how we need to be out in it. Like normally on the weekends we're inside, I'm doing chores, Alex does his stuff, I do my stuff, and this was just the opportunity to get out there and make me realize that's something we need to keep prioritizing in our life, because along with horseback riding we also went out hiking.
We did
twice
over the weekend, yeah.
During the weekend too, and just the importance nature plays, and it's where we discover ourselves, our passions. It makes us realize that that's the lifestyle we would rather live, being outside, doing that hard work, riding horses, having land, just all of that, being out there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I echo what you just said. For me, when I shared what I took away from it, the fall, all of that, I think is part of anytime you get on a horse or anytime you go, even on a donkey, I guess you could fall off if you ride a mule, but it's just part of the game, right? And I mean it, like I wasn't upset, I wasn't frustrated, I wasn't mad, I wasn't scared, I wasn't timid, I wasn't anxious, I wasn't anything. I lied. I was one thing. I was just happy. Like, I was just super happy, and I was laughing, and I enjoyed the whole situation. Like, we can sit here and laugh about it, and it's just a good memory for us that we get to have with each other and that we get to share and sharing with you guys. And I discovered that it's... people ask us, maybe this is the best way to explain it. People ask us, do you miss Texas? Do you ever feel like you'd move back? And really, the answer is, I don't know. Like, it depends, right? That's sometimes one of our favorite answers sometimes it's one of our favorite answers to say it depends. Yeah. And there's no, like, hidden agenda behind it, but it really just depends, because when we were in Texas, we didn't have any mountains nearby. We didn't have any public land nearby.
We couldn't be outside as much as we can.
We could,
here.
But it's a different kind of
hot.
feeling. It's a different kind of bugs. It's a different kind of environment.
Yeah, and you have to work a little harder to get out to certain areas.
Correct. And I would say when we were in Texas, people would ask us the opposite. Do you miss Nevada, or would you ever move back? And again, we would always say, well, right now, at that time, we would say it wasn't. It really wasn't. It's not in the cards. We like it here, and we did. We enjoy the lifestyle that we were building. Again, we did. And so I learned that life will, as you go through life, things change. And I think that's the part of growth, right?
Yeah.
I think that's part of growth. But going back to the original comment that I was going to make is I discovered that I'm the most happiest outside. Like, I just love being outside. I love cold plunging outside. I love hiking. I love archery shooting. I love going out shooting. I like horseback riding. Short of doing, labor and chores outside, that doesn't bother me, again, because I'm outside. And so it was really cool. I know I may mispronounce his last name wrong. John Muir? Is it Muir?
M-U-I-R.
I quoted one of his quotes on one of my posts, and it just really resonated with me. He said, "Into the woods I go to lose my mind, but find my soul." And I just really resonated with it, because and Lynn knows, I have gotten lost in the woods. But
you never know if it's that hill or maybe it's two
hills that you passed. Because things can change quickly on you on the mountains. And you wouldn't think that they would.
You just can't see.
But
it's just around the corner.
So I've gotten lost a couple of times. But have I panicked in those moments? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. There was a couple ones where I did panic. But beside the point, I've enjoyed that journey. It helped me be more aware and learn from those failures, learn from those mistakes, because like Lynn was pointing out, it's very easy to just go one direction in the mountain, but then you take a slight left because you're like, oh, let me go around this bend, or let me go around this side hill, and before you know it, you jump 3 ridges over. And then you start walking backwards, and you're like, this absolutely doesn't look like anywhere that I was just at. And so I find a lot of resemblance with life and life lessons that you learn through life. That was a mouthful. Being outside. I've found a lot of myself I've learned the most, or a lot about myself. Maybe not the most, but I've learned a lot about myself outside, being outdoors. And it's just a really cool experience to live.
Yeah, and I think it gives you bigger perspective too, because when you're shut inside, you have like work stressing you out, your family stressing you out, money stressing you out. But when you get outside, you can kind of see the bigger picture of life too. Like you realize it's not just you and your problems.
Yep.
There's this whole other part that matters.
Yeah.
And it makes you see like you're small in the grand scheme of things. I mean, you're important, but there's a lot of other important things too.
Agreed.
And your small problem may not be this crazy, hard, terrible problem that you were worrying about when you were sitting at your desk or looking over the bills, you know. It just gives you that perspective too.
Yeah, you realize that, at least for me, or maybe for you too, you realize that there's a big world out there and we are just a small piece of it.
So tiny.
And in reality, at least for me, for us being hunters, and me in particular for being more of an archery hunter than Lynn, I just enjoy the challenge, the mental challenge, and the actual physical challenge that it takes to be successful in archery hunting. I haven't hunted bears, so I'm not going to go, or any predator animal for that sense, to go, you know, this extreme. But there's a bow hunter that I really admire. His name's Cameron Haynes. And he said something, I was watching one of his podcasts, and he said something that really resonated, or has resonated with me. And I've always thought of it this way. I just could never really put it into words. But like he said it perfectly. He's a huge bear hunter. And he said, I'm paraphrasing it because I don't remember the exact quote. It's actually pretty lengthy. But essentially what he's saying is what he loves about archery is it's just him and the animal at a close distance. It is fair. It makes it more fair versus being a couple 100 yards away with a rifle. And if he does things right and he's careful and he strategizes and does things correctly, he'll be successful. If he's not, if he has a misstep or something happens wrong or something goes incorrectly, he could lose his life, especially being, you know, bear hunting, and he hunts, you know, grizzly bears and black bear and stuff like that. And so for me, I remember when I went on my archery elk hunt, when you see an animal that is 800 pounds in front of you, less than 20 yards away, you get this rush of adrenaline that is indescribable. Like anytime I think about it, I start crying, and I'm actually tearing up right now. Because it's just so... the right word is majestic. It's so impressive, miraculous to be in that kind of setting, to be in that kind of environment. Humbling too. And for me, I wasn't successful, unfortunately, but it's an adventure. It's a hunt. It's a memory that will stick with me for the rest of my life. And I just that's how I felt then. And hearing Cameron Haynes say this a couple weeks ago, it just, you know, brought back all those emotions. Yeah. And so that's even when I was in front of the horse, like a horse is still way taller than you, weighs more than you. So it's impressive to see these animals, and you realize that, okay, we have the brains, but compared to, in that case, compared to a bear, I'm pretty sure a bear is going to win.
We don't have that survival skill.
I don't have the bite force that he has. I don't have the speed that the bear has. I don't have the strength that the bear has. And so it just puts things into perspective.
Instincts, and it gives you like respect. I feel like that's really important because it gives you the respect for nature and what strengths it has. Yeah. Because I had a similar experience. I mean, mine was more life-threatening experience.
I guess, yeah.
But it gave me such a new perspective and made me like love this animal even more. So I don't think I've shared the mountain lion story. So we were all out hunting, not too far from where we live. Actually, it was kind of.
It was about an hour and a half.
Yeah, not too far, and we were out. Chukar hunting?
We were chukar hunting and quail hunting.
Quail hunting? Yeah. So it was me, Alex, my dad, and his dog Bauer. And we went, morning hunt, walking the hills, looking for the birds. I took the gully. They were up on the mountain. And this gully had really massive sagebrush. It was like the tallest sagebrush I've ever seen. It was my height. So I'm 5'3". It was really tall, just covering the whole area. So I'm just kind of going through the sagebrush, and I see all of a sudden a trap right in the middle, which it was illegally set. It was baited with meat hanging from the sagebrush and then the big trap. So it was blocking my path. So I'm like, oh, there's a trap over here. I have to try to find my way out. And I turn around, you guys, literally like couple feet from me, under one of these massive, beautiful sagebrushes, was the most beautiful mountain lion I've ever seen. Huge. So much bigger and fatter than the mountain lions you see in Cabela's and Sportsman's and Shields. Like he is eating well. His face looked like it was painted. The color was so bright, so strong. And his little tail was just wagging under the sagebrush watching me. I'm sure he was waiting for something to walk into that trap so he could have a good morning breakfast. But just the fact that he was right there, chilling. My back was to him the whole time. I was yelling to these guys, like, there's a trap over here. And then, so I see him, and I have a shotgun, which, yeah, in close range will do something to him if he were to come at me, but also, it's little BBs, not like a rifle or a handgun. So I'm just, there's a mountain lion. And I yell, Dad, there's a mountain lion. And he's like, in the trap? I'm like, no, he's just laying here. Guys, my dad grabs Bauer and just books it to the car.
Yeah, he
says nothing to me.
He grabs his dog. I'll never forget this image in my life. Because him and I were next to each other. And we were maybe 50, no, not even 50. We were probably like 20, 30 yards in front of Lynn. And at first when she just yelled in a high-pitched voice like, Dad? And so we both look at each other, and our first thought was she stepped in a trap. Like, that was our very first thought. And then she says, there's a mountain lion here. And then her dad asks, is it caught in the trap? And she's like, no, he's just standing here behind me watching me. And I look at him, and he looks at me, and both our eyes just get wide. And instead of, him going to go save his daughter, he grabs his dog and walks away. And then all you hear, I'm not making this up. I'm walking towards Lynn with my shotgun, but all you hear from a distance is, walk back slowly. And I started laughing. Like, I couldn't help laughing.
It was pretty funny.
I come down the hill, I come down the gully, and I go to the area where Lynn's at. Like I said, we're like 30 yards away. And so I have my shotgun up just in case. And so I peek around the corner, and sure enough, you just see this tomcat. His tail's waving, and he's looking at Lynn, but then he saw my movement, and so he turns and looks at me. And he's just staring at us. And so I tell Lynn, I'm like, okay, back up, get behind me.
And you guys, I'm like weaving through this thick sagebrush. It is as tall as me. I'm having to like basically break myself through like backwards.
Yeah, and so she gets behind me, and then we just, start slowly walking our way back. Hindsight, and I thought about this as we were walking out, I was like, I should have pulled out my phone, taken a quick picture, but my luck, as soon as I did that, he would have jumped on us. So it is what it is. But everything happened the way it was supposed to. So we just start slowly walking back. We don't see him anymore. Slowly walking back, and then Lynn, just walks a little bit faster. She turns around, walks a little bit faster. Oh, that was the other part. Your dad, after he says, walk back slowly, and then you hear even further down the road, he's like, don't run.
Yeah.
And so Lynn, she's speed walking out, and I'm just still walking backwards, just keeping an eye out. And then I just turn, and then we slowly, get out of there.
Hunting was ended that day.
The funny thing, and to this day, actually, we haven't been back to that area. But the funny thing is the name of that location, the name of that place is called the Lion's Den. And now we know why it's called the Lion's Den, because there's mountain lions there. There's mountain lions everywhere. But it's just so cool. It was cool for us. You tell your perspective, but for me, it was really cool to be within feet of a mountain lion.
So close. And
they say that more mountain lions see you when you're out hiking than you see them in your lifetime. And I've had 3 encounters with mountain lions. This was one of them. 2 of them in the dark. And that's a conversation for a different day, because those are good ones. But that was a really cool experience.
Well, it just gives such good perspective. Like, my back was to him that whole time. He could have pounced. Easily gotten me. I would have nowhere been fast enough to move. You guys, when I say I was feet, like, end of this table, to hear my back to him. Because the sagebrush is all tight and close.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was very close. And he chose not to attack me. He was just relaxing there. I mean, God had my back, but I think it was also giving me that perspective of, I'm like confident hunter walking through there with my gun. I'm going to get anything. I'm safe. And like, no, there's this massive animal that you're walking on his turf. It's humbling.
Yeah.
It made me respect mountain lions, and I honestly love mountain lions. Like, they're one of my favorite animals now because of that experience. Like, yes, if you were to attack or start crouching, maybe it would have been a different experience. Mm-hmm. But I think seeing them in that light is not common nowadays, because a lot of animals are painted really poorly because they do attack people, and it happens, and you can be in the wrong place in the wrong time. But also natural, that's their natural thing. I mean, humans attack humans all the time too. It's a natural instinct for, what's the word? Not fighters, but
predators.
Predators. It's a natural thing for predators.
Yeah.
So it was just a really humbling moment, and I think we're talking about these outdoor experiences that we just had, and I mentioned we went hiking too over the weekend twice. Once just us and Rhaegar and the dogs, and then once with my parents and Rhaegar and the dogs. No dogs the second time.
No dogs the second time, yeah.
But I think it just shows how, just for us personally, how important nature is in our relationship too. Because a lot of our really amazing experiences have come to being outside, and it's brought us really close together too.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's actually a perfect segue into our topic, because I just realized this has been a long intro. We haven't even gotten into our topic yet. But no, you make a really good point. And I would agree that the more time, that a lot of our great memories and great adventures have been being outside. And it's just a really cool feeling to be able to, one, share that together, but then share it with others, because it has grown so much from where we've started, right? For me, real quick, and then we'll get into it. I mentioned this before. I didn't grow up hunting. Lynn's the one who taught me. Her dad's the one who taught me. I have then since paid it backwards and forwards. And when I say backwards is, I've taught my dad how to hunt. I've shown my mom how to hunt. She doesn't like hunting, but she likes to go out. I've taught my brother how to hunt. I've taught my sister how to hunt. We've taught my cousin how to hunt. We've taught my brother's friends. Now they're getting into it. Now that he's getting older, there's an age gap between my brother and I. And so it's just really cool to be able to expose different people to that kind of environment, and that they like it and that they love it and they stick to it. So it's just, that's what brings me a lot of joy, is being able to get new people into hunting. Or even if you don't like it, right? Let's say you give it a chance, but you end up not liking it. I believe, and in my experiences, people that we've taken out that don't like it walk away with a different perspective and walk away with a different respect. It may not be for them, and that's totally fine, and they say it, that's fine. But they realize the hard work that it takes, the dedication that it takes, the mental fortitude that you need to have, the endurance that you need to have. And so it just gives a different appreciation for it. And so I think that's, we can get into this debate, but for the people who are against hunting or the non-hunters or whatever, if we as hunters took more people out and invited people out to come experience it, even if it's just, we're not saying here's a rifle, take that animal, and we're not saying that, but just having, unless they want to, but having them just be a part of it and be exposed to it, I think that's how we can make a lot more people come together, find common ground, and have a better understanding of one another. I think sometimes we take, and this isn't just in this particular topic, but I think a lot of times we just take very opposite ends and not meet in the middle. Not be able to compromise, not be able to have a conversation. And that's one thing that I really push for my family. And when I say my family, it's my wife and my son, is I enjoy debating. I enjoy having difficult conversations, or what's the word? I guess those are the two words. But I enjoy having those kinds of conversations with people. Now, I'm not an expert in a lot of the subjects that we talk about, but I have no problem giving my opinion, and I have no problem letting someone else give their opinion and then hear their opinion and then figure out, the common ground there. And if there's no common ground, then it is what it is, right? And we don't have to we don't have to come to a complete agreement, but we can agree to disagree, or we can be cordial. We can respect each other's views, and so I think that that's what we need more of in our life, in our country right now, just to get back more unison.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I think just on the point of hunting and bringing people out, even if you do have different views and you don't like hunting and you disagree with it having that perspective of coming out and seeing what it takes to do that, I think it brings you closer to nature because it's a challenge. I mean, you're basically fighting for your food, for survival. It's how you would feed yourself. But it also connects you on a deeper level with the animals, too.
Correct.
And it can remove some of, like, that ignorance that's associated with, where your food's coming from. Because some of the things, it's heart-wrenching to see what's done. And I think that's been, a good perspective change for me too, because I love animals so much, but I grew up hunting, but I also got caught doing other things too, and I mean it could be political and go different ways, but just overall the respect for nature.
But in that sense, I think a common misconception is because you're a hunter you're automatically a killer and people that you don't respect life. I think there is a lot of respect that goes into it. When you are as an adult or even as a child and you harvest an animal, because we don't ever really say that you've killed an animal, you say you've harvested an animal.
Just like you're harvesting the crops because that's what they did.
Correct.
That's how they got their food.
But what I was going to say is you see such raw, real emotion. Like my brother's first animal. When my brother got his first deer, just the amount of joy he had and the tears and just the emotion that he had. It's not an emotion that you've taken a life. It's an emotion that you discover a part of yourself. There's this primal drive. There's this primal instinct in all of us. I completely believe that. And hunting, fishing, that kind of setting exposes you to that. It brings it out in you. And so you could just see him just be excited, but at the same time also be sad, because in reality the truth is you took a life, right? But if we're going to look at it from a biblical standpoint, God gave us dominion over this earth to be good stewards of it, right? I'm not saying that we took over the world and we need to be destroying it. That's not what I'm saying.
Not
in fact, the Bible,
animals or anything
correct. The Bible
like
says
that.
be good stewards, but God also gave us dominion over the animals, over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the sky, and so I just there's something so. It's unexplainable. You have to go through it or you have to witness it to see the emotion and the amount of love and care that actually people who and I will say this, people who actually look at hunting for what it is, they will understand what I'm saying. Just like anything else, there are going to be people who look at hunting as just killing or poaching and are hunters, or I wouldn't even call them hunters. They just go out and shoot animals. But those aren't the people that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the real respectable people who understand what hunting is about, what it means, what it takes to do, what it represents, what it embodies, all that stuff. Those are the people who I'm talking about. Those are the people who I'm saying are real hunters.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's definitely a topic that's not discussed much, or when you see it, it's more in a negative light. It's not, you don't hear a lot of hunters talking about it, because honestly, I think most of us just want to be up in the mountains and doing our thing and enjoying that, but I think it's good to speak on it and show our perspective, because you can see from all the things we talk about and how much we do care about the animals and care about nature and wanting to preserve this land that God gave us.
Yep, agreed. And I mean, that's why we volunteer. We need to do more of it. We haven't volunteered as much since moving back, but before we left, we were volunteering for different wildlife conservation agencies or organizations all the time. Lynn was a part for a summer. She was a part of a wood duck project, and we've helped out with bighorn sheep captures and relocations. We've done guzzler builds. We've done habitat restoration. I mean, when you are someone who gives up your time, your resources to help enrich the environment and leave the world better than what you've left it, I would say that qualifies as caring. That shows that you care. Right?
And that's what a lot of the hunters we know we met through doing that, because they all are volunteering to help preserve the animals. We don't want them to disappear. We don't want to overhunt and kill them and see their population dwindle to nothing. We want to keep that thriving and balanced and have a good ecosystem where everyone's healthy and thriving.
Agreed.
In it.
Agreed. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Well, Shall we get into it? Because
well, I was thinking we just keep going with this.
I mean, it's up to you. There's a lot to discover. There's a lot to discuss here for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, okay. Well, let me ask you this: What do you feel your responsibility is to our children when it comes to the outdoors and hunting and leaving that part of the legacy behind?
I think we have a really big responsibility for our family.
Okay.
So for me, growing up, my dad passed down hunting, fishing, survival, just being outside. Mm-hmm. That was something he gave me. And I think for our kids to continue even just my dad's legacy, passing on what he taught me to our children is really important. So I want to make sure that Rhaegar, he's already been out hunting. Mm-hmm. I want him to know the outside more than the inside. Mm-hmm. I want that to be his playground. If he's running outside, making a mess, bringing mud into the house, I hope he goes to a park and finds a little duckling and he's like, "Look, Mommy, I brought us a duck for dinner." Like, okay,
maybe not from a park, but
we're going to take it back and let him grow with his mommy like you did. But the concept of loving,
I love it.
Loving animals and nature and wanting to be out there. I think also a very healthy respect for it though.
Yeah.
Because I don't want him I said that's example of gently bringing me a little duckling that he found, just because I rescued 2 baby quails the other day and that mm-hmm. was really helping out. But I don't want him to be terrorizing the geese and chasing after them when Correct. We go to a park. I don't want him littering and leaving trash around. I don't want him picking all the flowers and mm-hmm. wrecking the ecosystems and life that's there. I want to teach him that the world is big, nature is tough. Mm-hmm. Even when we're walking and I saw a duck egg the other day. Obviously a raven or a crow got it. It's sad, but life kind of is hard.
It's a dog world out there.
Yeah, nature is...
What's that from?
Big, fat, liar! You got cats eating cats. You got fish munching fish.
That's awesome.
That's the quote. Love that movie. Sorry.
I know how to get her from time to
time. Yes. He knows where bring out all the movie quotes. I'm a quote person too, but mostly more on movies than what Alex has mentors and stuff. But I think we have a really important duty of taking all of that to our kids. So, they're going to be the next ones working to conserve what we have now. And we already, after these few years, we haven't been doing a good job of it just as a society as a whole. I mean, when COVID happened, everything shut down. Dolphins, I guess, were coming back into certain areas in Italy where they've been gone forever. Mm-hmm. Animals, ecosystems came back thriving because we just stopped going out and stopped wrecking everything. Mm-hmm. So I want to pass on that respect for nature and that desire to want to conserve it and be out there, enjoy it, sit in the mountains, look at the beauty, but not go in and wreck it. You're there to hunt, you're there to survive, you're there to harvest when you get a tag, but you're also respecting, you're praying, you're thanking God if you do get something. You're acknowledging that you did take this animal's life to help feed your family, mm-hmm. and it's not going to go to waste. And you're not going to just not appreciate it, you know?
Not disrespect it, mm-hmm. not appreciate it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's, to me, it's really important for our legacy and what I want to teach Rhaegar and any other kids we have. And mm-hmm. it'll be really cool. Rhaegar, we teach Rhaegar and he'll teach his siblings down the road and continue that. And I want to be able to just set them up for success. That was a long answer. What's your thoughts?
No, that was good. Before I give you my thoughts, I'm going to actually change the question or add a different question. Because, I'll say this, I echo what you say. I want to make sure that we leave a legacy behind, that Rhaegar sees us live with nature, live alongside nature, but have that respect, right? Mm-hmm. But also do our part to clean it and conserve it and do it better. I want him to be able, when he gets older, for him to see us volunteering and for him to want to be a part of it and to mm-hmm. enjoy it and grow up in that. But here's where the question that I was about to ask you comes from too. Now, again, I just mentioned it a little bit ago. I like to debate, so let me play devil's advocate with you. Okay, we've set this foundation. We've set these exposure for Rhaegar to grow up in nature. That's our goal. That's what we want to do. What happens if he doesn't want to do it? What happens if he doesn't have that appreciation for nature? What happens if he... This 3 questions, but really it's just one question. What happens if he doesn't meet the expectations that we may set? Like, hey, and that might sound harsh, but bear with me here. You'll understand what I mean. What happens if he doesn't live up to those, or doesn't go for those expectations that we've set of being part of nature, growing up in nature? Just, what if he takes a different route?
Well, I think I could be a good example of this, because I was in the position where I kind of veered off of what my parents taught me. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, I think there will be moments of that. Mm-hmm. Moments of doubt, moments of, he might think, oh my gosh, I just shot a duck. How horrible. I see them at the park. They're so cute. They're mommies and daddies with their babies. Yeah, that's natural. It's natural to feel badly because you don't want to take a life of cute little furry animals like they're cute. But I think from the perspective of being his parents, we need to set a very sturdy and sound foundation for him on our values and our morals. And with that foundation, not wavering. So not like, oh, yeah, you can go play video games once. Oh, sure, okay, we can get the Wii. It's active. Like, that's a video game that you're moving. You're not just sitting there. No, we want him to be outside and doing stuff. And if we waver on whatever beliefs and morals it is, then he'll start doubting. Like, okay, they're kind of saying I need to do this, but they're also letting me do this over here, which is the complete opposite. Well, what if it's like that for everything? Well, what if we are saying grace all the time here, but then we're not going to church? Okay, well, why are we do that and not doing that? And that's where that doubt creeps in, and then they don't have confidence in what you're raising them to do because you keep giving in to societal pressures, laziness. There's so many things that can come about being a parent. I mean, it's hard. There's a lot of different variables that come in, and creating that firm foundation will give better likelihood of them. Yes, they may get influence hanging out with friends, doing things, but if you set that foundation, they'll have that confidence to say, no, I don't believe that, or this is what I believe, I understand your belief, but I'm not gonna go by what you believe, I'm going by my own opinions. And I think that's really important because my parents set a very good foundation for me with hunting and everything, but I had friends who hated hunting. I knew people who were vegan. I even didn't eat meat and dairy for almost a year. I wouldn't say I'm vegan, but plant-based for a long time, and totally moved away from what I grew up doing because you do get influences from social media is a big one. That influences everyone like crazy. You get stuck on things. You see, oh, they look like they have the best life ever. I'm going to copy exactly what they do.
You get stuck in comparison or guilt.
Yeah, comparison, guilt. Guilt is a big one because that's what people are going to put on you based on their beliefs. But because I think I had such a solid foundation for the hunting side, fishing, respect for my ancestors, this is what they did, this is how they survived. And not ancestors years and years ago, great, whatever. My grandma had to survive in the mining camps, hunting and fishing. That's the only way they got their food. It was during the Great Depression. It was a lot. And honoring them by continuing those traditions and practicing that and seeing the hard work that they did to survive to get me where I am today, I think is really important because that's me just learning what they did, getting perspective on what they did, and passing that on to our kids. So overall, your question, we need to set that foundation, and if we are lazy and wavering that, giving in certain areas, then he's not going to have that good, strong values and morals to maintain those beliefs. I'd rather me be indoctrinating him than society indoctrinating him on their beliefs, because society is always going to change. Mine is based on the biblical truths. That's what we go off of. Off of God. That has not changed for years and years and years and years. society is always changing, no matter whatever the trend is. And so if I want him to have some kind of foundation, it's going to be what we want, not what's rotating in the world at the time.
I appreciate that perspective because it's big. And what I would add to that is, well, not add to that. Here's the, I'll add to this. Okay, so you're saying that if we set the foundation correctly, we set our beliefs, indoctrinating, how you said, one way or another, our children are still going to be indoctrinated, and it's better that they be indoctrinated through us or by us versus by society, right? So I'm going to get a little controversial here. What do you do? I'm going to push a little bit further. Yeah. What do you do if after you've set that foundation, you have done everything that you could, he still grows up and says, no, I don't want to hunt?
Then I'll invite him to go. And if he doesn't want to, I don't think it's fair of me to pressure him, but I think it's saying this is still what we believe in and what we do. I think you still need to have that firm stance on your beliefs and not, it still kind of goes into that wavering and giving in of whatever. You know, kids want things. They want to push the boundaries. They want to try things. And it's important to do that in life. Otherwise, you're not going to learn. You're not going to get perspective. But, I mean, I haven't been through it, so I don't know. It's my first time being a mom. But for me, my parents supported me in my decisions. My dad let me get almond milk, and we had the fun vegan alternatives and everything. Like, they weren't negative about it, but they were also like, we still want to hunt. And this is something like, I'm not changing this. And I think living just around that lifestyle and also encouraging research. Encouraging knowing the facts from, whatever social media is talking about. Like, do your own research and not rely on others to do that for you. And that goes to, like, whatever we're teaching him to. If he wants to do his own research and he's like, I'm questioning that, then he needs to be educated on that. I mean, I don't talk about certain things, like especially politics stuff, because I don't have the research to back it up. I don't know what I'm talking about. I only have just like random opinions based on certain things I've read. But doing the research and educating himself, I think, would be something I would encourage. That, okay, if you don't want to hunt, just do the research. What about it don't you like? And then from there, is that a benefit? Does this harm the world? Like, and kind of keep it that way. I would put the ball in his court, I guess. Okay. Is something kind of just going on a whim because I've never experienced it and I don't know. But what about you?
I purposely put you on the spot because I saw where you were going. And I get it. I agree with you. This is something that we're both new to and we're experiencing for the first time. But it's a very real reality. It is. Because I've experienced it in my family. My sister, she loves to be out, and I'm not calling her out at all by this. I know she watches our podcast from time to time, so I love you. But I take the full blame for this. My brother and sister, I almost lost them completely to hunting because of how I acted and how I strongly imposed my will on them. And that's something that I had to mature through, and that's something that I had to grow up and realize and recognize where my mistakes are, because the reality is they're their own person. And if they, they view the world differently or they want to do things differently, like, they're not my children, first of all, they're my brother and sister. But, at the end of the day, they're going to do what they want to do in a sense, right? And I think to your point, why I think it's important that you still have that open-mindedness and don't have a closed mind is because even though your parents may not have agreed with your decisions at that time, they weren't anything bad. You weren't doing drugs. You weren't, being crazy or anything like that. They're like, okay, if this is where she's going to contradict what we believe in, let's support her. And this is me just completely assuming, right? Because this might be a good question to ask them. But I'm assuming that they're like, you know what? It's nothing bad. It's nothing dangerous. Let's support her. Let's be there for her. Let's guide her. Let's help her. And at the end of the day, if she changes her mind, we're there to help her. If she doesn't, we're still going to love her. We're still going to support her. And hoping that you make your own decisions through your own research, which I assume that you ended up doing as you grew through that, right? And so for me, my brother, he still loves to hunt. He's very open to it. But there was a time there where like I said, I lost him. Like, he wanted nothing to do with it because of how I was acting and how harsh I was being and how, whatever I was, how mean I was being. My sister, the same thing. My sister, she didn't, she struggled more with the fact of taking a life. And I tried to, again, impose my will and say, hey, no, it's totally fine. I was trying to look at it for, show her, like, this is, part of life. This is natural. Humane. God gave us domain. This is, we're doing it humanely. We're not. And I tried to throw all of this, but I threw it in not the best way possible, because when she kept on saying no, I got frustrated. And, I reacted angrily. And so that then caused her to say, you know what, I want nothing to do with this. And I lost her there for a long time. Now, she's not at the phase of hunting again, but she likes to go out. She likes to hike. She likes to camp. She likes to be outside of nature. And you know what? For me, that's a win. She still eats wild game, right? And again, that's still a win for me, because it's something that I can still share with my family. And this is where my mistake happens, and this is why I challenged you with this question. I get passionate about things. That's something that's just who I am. When I find something that I love, I get so passionate and I want to share it with people. I want them to have these experiences. I want to expose them to these different things. You want them to have
the same passions you have.
Correct. And so I imposed that will on them. And what did it do? It backfired on me, because I was not open to their thoughts. I was not open to how they perceived it or what they feel. I didn't ask those questions. I just said, no, you're going to do it my way. So what I've learned now is, as hard as it can be, those challenges are very real and very, very realistic that can happen. And so we just need to be aware of that and be ready for the 1,000 questions that come when he hits 5 years old. Right? I did a presentation at work that I titled "Why 5-Year-Olds Ask the Most Questions." And while I was doing my research, if I'm still correct, or if I still remember correctly, between ages 4 and 6, the average questions that a child will ask is anywhere from 80 to 100 questions a day. And it's if for those of you who have kids that have gone through that age already, or kids in that age, I'm sure you know what I mean. Why is this happening? Why is that? Why is this? Who is that? Blah, 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 a bunch of questions. And so I think that we as humans are curious animals, curious creatures, curious people to begin with. And we ask questions, and then either through frustration or the system or whatever, it gets taken out of us. It gets coached out of us to not ask questions. Well, the school system's
set up to not ask questions because, you get embarrassed to ask questions because you get embarrassed to be wrong. And our tests, we're designed to give answers in schooling. Yeah. You're designed to read a question and give the answers, not to be curious.
Not to think, not to be curious. And so that's another reason why we're very strong on homeschooling. That's another reason why we're very strong on doing something else than the public school system. Yeah. And so where I was going with that is, or what I was going with previously, is I appreciate your comments and I appreciate your vulnerability with it, because it is a tough question. And it's something that, to be honest, I'm not going to lie here. It's something that I hope we don't go through, or if we go through, I hope that we handle it in the best way possible, because one way or another, he's going to grow up, right? We only have him for a short amount of time, and at the end of the day, he's going to grow up and he's going to do his own thing and he's going to be his own person. And we have to be okay with that. At the end of the day, the Bible says, we've talked about this, a man and a woman will come together, become one, and leave their parents' house, right? So eventually he's going to find his wife, and he's going to go, start his life. And hopefully these episodes will serve as lessons learned for him, and then with his children. So, I think that's I appreciate your perspective.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. And so, he already naturally is inclined to the outdoors since he's been very, very little. He's liked being outside, so we definitely are grateful for that part. But I think it also comes around to just, making the outdoors fun and enjoyable for him, and also making it just normalized. I think if it's something you've grown up with and it's normalized, then you tend to lean more towards it because he gets comfortable with it, but in a good way. So if he's used to being outside all the time, if he's used to going on hikes instead of getting off of school or work and sitting and watching TV, he instead going out and playing with the dogs or going swimming or something, then I feel like I did my job. Even if he doesn't want to hunt, if he just wants to be outside, he wants to train dogs or do that kind of thing. we've done our job.
We've done our job of giving exposure. And
Yeah.
that's something that I'm very, very big on. I pulled out my phone because I want to share a quote in a second, but I'm very big on exposure. We've talked about this. We've shared it here. We want to be able to expose them to different things and then just have them try different things. That's one thing that I wish I had more courage to ask my parents to let me do different things or try different things, or that I just did them by myself without, once I started making money and working and all that stuff. But we mentioned this before. There's 3 absolute requirements that we want Rhaegar to do. One, and he has choice here. One, he has to play one sport. It can be any sport he wants to play, but I believe in learning through, you learn
maybe he'll
teamwork.
want to be a bronc rider.
You learn teamwork, you learn hard work, you learn discipline, so many different things through playing sports. So I want him, we both play sports.
Yeah.
We want him to play one sport. We want him to do a martial art. It doesn't matter what martial art. But again, that goes back to the discipline. That goes back to respect.
There's so many things in the martial art just culturally that's important.
But self-defense. Yeah. Learning to defend for himself. Learning to
defend and protect others.
And protect others, correct.
He's going to protect me. We're going to teach him to protect me.
And last one, instrument. I had to think about which fingers I was using. Last one, instrument. I messed that up. Anyways, last one would be an instrument. Yeah. We want him to play an instrument. Doesn't matter what instrument. That's one regret, I would say. You still remember because you play your guitar from time to time. I played the violin. I played the recorder. You're just your typical instruments that you learn throughout your elementary, middle school days. But I stopped, and I was pretty good at the violin. I ended up doing a solo at school for one of our concerts, and I just wish I would have stuck with it. I used to be able to read notes. I don't know how to read notes anymore. Yeah. I don't know how to read music, and we want him to find one of those. Do something with those 3. It could be anything, but through music, he'll learn art, he'll learn appreciation, he'll learn, a skill. And so those are the things that we want to make sure that we help expose him to and help him get there. But real quick, I want to share this quote. Going back to what we were just talking about the questions that you were asking, or answering, excuse me. Itachi Uchiha, okay? If you remember, Rhaegar's name is Rhaegar Itachi Portillo. His initials are RIP. Best name ever. But Itachi is a character from Naruto. He is of the Uchiha clan, and he is one of our absolute favorite characters, hence why we named our son after him. But he's just so smart and so intelligent at an early age through the show. He just thinks in a whole different way, and I resonate with him a lot because I always felt, and I've been given this feedback, that I've always had a mature way of thinking for my age throughout my entire lifetime. And so he says a quote that is one of my favorite quotes, and I didn't want to misquote it, so that's why I pulled it out. He says, "Knowledge and awareness are vague and perhaps better called illusions. Everyone lives within their own subjective interpretation." I think that's very powerful. Right? I think it's very true because going back to what you were saying, we have our beliefs. Other people have their beliefs. Society has their beliefs. And so it's a constant battle of beliefs. The older I get, the more I do believe, or the more it makes sense that there is no right or wrong. Yeah. It's perception. It's how you perceive it. There is no good or evil. There is no good or evil. There's again. It's subjective. It's how you perceive it. Funny quote here from the movie Jurassic World. This was the owner of the park, and then the scientist who created the dinosaurs. Anyways. They're having an argument, and he says, "You asked for more fear," and he said, "Well, I didn't." Or you asked for scarier. He's like, "Well, I didn't ask for a monster." He was like, "A monster is subjective. To a canary, a cat is a monster." Yeah. And I don't know why that just stuck with me right now, but it's true. It's a good perspective. Like to us, a cat's not a monster. To someone else, it may be, but to an animal, to a bird, to a mouse, to something that it will eat, it is a monster, right? So it's all subjective. It's all within our own realm of what we see as right or wrong. So take that for what it is. Take that for what it be. But I think that's just something worth mentioning.
Some way to summarize everything, because it is true. We are, when we get all insecure just going out, like, oh, people are looking at me, that kind of thing. They're not. Because they're in their own reality, their own world, and doing their own life. And I think, we get we're self-centered naturally as humans because we always think about ourselves, that's why we have our own beliefs, and we're all centered around that. And that's why we are stuck in, that illusion of kind of what you said. So I think that's a good way to summarize everything we've really been talking about. We kind of went on a tangent in different ways, but...
You're stuck in the... For my Naruto fans, you're stuck in the infinite Tsukuyomi.
I was going to say the same thing, because you see the dreams, and they're all in their own little dreams.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing.
Exactly.
It's just putting them... Only they're just safely sleeping and going through that.
No, they're dying. They're not safely sleeping. They're dying.
Okay, they're dying. But they're in there
Spoiler
sleeping and going through those dreams instead of just their normal business. You know, it's a good visualization of that quote, basically.
Yeah. No, I agree. Well, that was heavy.
Yeah.
That was a lot to talk about. We did not talk about the conversation we had planned, so we're going to save that for next week. Mm-hmm. But I think it was good. I think we will tend to have these where we just, when we start talking about how our day went or what happened in that week, the conversation will just flow naturally. That it's just better to continue it this way, and then we'll talk about the other one. But I did want to say one more thing. I just lost it. I hate when that happens. What did you say towards the end before I made the infinite Tsukuyomi comment? Maybe that'll trigger it. What were you saying?
That we can be self-centered and have our own, be stuck in our... I think everyone's like looking at us.
Perfect. Thank you. And I think this goes for so much more than what you were explaining. For example, let's say that you have had a misunderstanding or an argument with someone, or a disagreement, same thing, whatever, that with someone. One of you, chances are, it may be you, who still holds on to that memory, who still holds on to that argument, and you still hold that resentment or the grudge or whatever. Meanwhile, the other person has moved on from it or doesn't care anymore. And what I mean by that, this has happened to me. Like I have felt wronged by people in my past, to the point where it has affected me in the sense where I just don't want to talk to them. I don't want to see them. I don't want to deal with them. And then I realize that the one who's suffering or who's losing the most from that kind of attitude is myself.
Yeah.
Because the next time I see them, or let's say that now where I'm in a place of more maturity, where I've run into them and I've talked to them and I've apologized and I've said, hey, I apologize if I have not spoken to you these last couple of years. The last conversation that we had really upset me. This is how I felt. And I realized that I was immature and I was looking at it from a selfish perspective. I was looking at it only for myself and not for anything else. And the conversations that I've had with people like that, you want to know what the response is? The response is, I've let go of that a long time ago. I didn't even know that that was okay with me. Like I had no issues with that. Or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. And you know the dumbfounded look I have on my face when they say that? I think I get more upset about them responding that way in such a nonchalant way than if they would have just said, "Oh, it's about time you apologize."
Yeah,
because in my mind,
have been worrying about it for the whole time. Your mind's just been occupied by it.
Yeah, in my mind, I'm waiting for them to say, "Oh, it's about time you apologize," and then maybe I don't know if I'm trying to start another argument or not necessarily anymore. Like I said,
I don't know. He's pretty good at sometimes just starting random arguments.
But what I mean with all that is that sometimes we put so much weight and so much thought into what other people think that we forget to live, or it affects our life. And it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
It should not be that way. So, again, throw in some extra nuggets in there. Take that for what you will. You triggered that thought when you made that comment.
That's a good nugget.
So, well, cool, Lynn. Well, I think the last thing to do, again, we saved it for the end, unfortunately, is, well, not unfortunately, but...
We talk about it already because we talked about how great our weekend was.
Well, peaks and valleys, real quick.
Well, peak... Being able to stay on a bucking horse.
Okay.
That can't be yours. Valley. My uneven tan.
You're tanning.
But look up here. It's like white and then it's...
You're tanning.
It's uneven. That's why I'm wearing a tank top today, because on my second workout, I'm going to go get some tanning on. I
realized that in Texas, we didn't spend as much time outside as we have since being back. And again, we talked about it, bugs, humidity. The heat over there is just a different kind of heat.
And it's dangerous out there. I can't have my baby going in the grass. They're going to get bitten by a snake or some scary spider, tropical spider.
Right. So what I was saying is that over there, I haven't put sunscreen on in years. I haven't gotten a sunburn in years. But we've been...
your perfect complexion.
But what I was saying is, we've been spending a lot of time outside. I got a slight sunburn the other day. I didn't apply any this morning because I went on a hike this morning with Rhaegar and with my dad and your dad. But I think I need to start putting on, because I get really, really dark.
Rhaegar's getting a little tan too. He has a natural little tan because he goes on all of our workouts with us too.
He does. Well, okay then. What was your valley?
My uneven.
Oh, you're uneven. Okay, so for me, real quick, because I want us to check in on 75 hard too.
Yeah.
My peak was the amount of time that we've spent outside right now, and all the different memories that we're making. Horseback riding, definitely a peak. My valley, again, you probably know this, and it's more my pride that was hurt, but falling off the saddle. Even though I let go, I will say that, but still fell off the saddle and got stepped on by a horse. So I guess I got a big. The welt was big. Now the welt's down, but it's a big bruise. Like it took. Like think of a what is it called? A quad, right? And it's probably like half my quad. It's a big bruise. But okay, 75 hard, and then we'll end. Then we'll land this plane.
Okay, we are on day 19, I think, and it is going good. Workouts are doing good. The water, I am almost done already today, which is nice. But
half a gallon still.
Yeah, that stinks. Yesterday I was in that boat and I was chugging it till right before I laid down for bed. Progress picture, since Alex always is never around when I need my progress picture taken, I've now put it on the table of wherever I'm at. Put on the little 3-second timer. Step away. Progress picture. I'm not missing that, guys. I am not missing that. So that's been good.
So let me ask: has the app helped?
Yes, it helps
versus
a lot.
The first time.
Yes, because I love a good to-do list, and when I go in there and I know I haven't gotten the image to send to you to post, then I'm like, oh, I need to make sure I mark off everything. So it has been helpful, even though it was $6.99, but it was worth it.
It's worth it because I don't know about you. I do want to go through the whole Live Hard program. I did 75 hard, past that. This is the second time doing it. I started phase 1 of Live Hard, failed that twice.
Yeah.
And so I want to do it.
You guys, okay, before he tells you his, so we have our diet that we've been going off of, ancestral diet. And we talked about the ancient grains, and we're not doing sugar, processed foods and stuff. I have developed a recipe that has turned into a dessert I've made 3 times already that is so good, and Alex and I have been eating it constantly, and I got it so he could actually have it because he said he's not having any bread or anything. But with this ancient grain, it's the spelt is one of them, and I mix butter with the spelt flour and honey and cinnamon, because honey is natural and maple syrup is also natural because it's just tapped from the tree. So we do only organic. That stuff is the only sweet stuff we're allowed. So with the maple syrup, we've been making homemade ice cream, and it's so good. Carnivore friendly, maple syrup sweetened vanilla ice cream. So good. Not overly sweet, really creamy.
No. Let's distinguish. The ice cream is carnivore friendly.
Yeah.
Your ancient grains is not, because
I know.
We're doing the ancestral, but let me make that distinction. The ice cream is carnivore friendly because it's just eggs. We're using honey, or heavy whipping cream, and then for the sweetener, maple syrup or honey. And even with that, I think it's borderline.
They use stevia and stuff in the carnivore, borderline. So I think it's way better and healthier.
But the ancient grains, that and the peach, that is what disqualifies it from at least the carnivore that I was doing, not during 75 hard, but at the beginning of the year.
But okay, so I didn't get to the peach part yet. So we have the ice cream, the nice maple syrup sweetened vanilla ice cream. Then with the ancient grains, put butter, cinnamon, honey in there, mix it up, turn it into a crumble, and then we have a bunch of peaches that we froze from last year from our peach tree, and I mix that with a bunch of cinnamon because I'm not sweetening it, obviously, a little bit of honey, and a little bit of just the whatever leftover butters from the crumble. Put the crumble all on top, bake it, peach cobbler with ice cream, so good, and it's not bad for you. I mean, I don't even put a tablespoon of honey in it. It's just natural sugar. Yeah, it's like what you put in it in your tea or whatever, or on Greek yogurt or something.
Yeah.
I'm putting maybe half a teaspoon, half a tablespoon in there. So it's really not bad for you, and it's delicious. Like,
it's
foods
yummy.
are so naturally sweet that we get so used to the processed foods, which we haven't had those now for 19 days. So we haven't had processed sugar or anything. So the fruit and stuff tastes 10 times more sweeter to us because we haven't had the extra sweet stuff to compare. So I had to put that in there because I have found a good healthy dessert that's just been delicious. So that's also how 75 has been good.
It's been good. It's been good. I agree with you. I think this week the hardest part has been the water. There's been a couple of times where the last quarter of the gallon for me, I'm drinking it an hour, 2 hours before going to bed. And I've stayed up a little bit later this week to study and self-develop a little bit more. So it has been okay because I'll go to the bathroom a couple times before going to bed. But still, I don't like drinking my water that late or having to rely on drinking it that late. I know last night in particular I drank it late and I had to get up like 2 times. I was sad. But no, it's going good. The diet's going really well. I will say that I want to start incorporating a little bit more strength training. Since it's been really nice outside, we've been doing both our workouts outside, and we've been just walking, hiking, jogging. What else have we done? Well, I've done the bike, but that's been indoors. So we just done both of our workouts outside. I want to start incorporating a little bit more strength training, so I'm probably going to start going to the gym a little bit earlier again.
Get those muscles.
And so
for hunting season.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, and I'm gonna stop. And then this is my last comment, and we'll end it here.
Okay.
So, like I mentioned, this morning I took Rhaegar, my dad, my father-in-law, and myself. We all went on a hike. I didn't say this to you, and actually I meant to say this to you before we started the podcast, but I forgot. I need to give you your flowers, and I need to give you mad respect for carrying Rhaegar in his hiking backpack and not complaining. I know I ask you all the time, do you want me to help you? And I have no problem helping you. I don't know if I'm still... Okay, I'm a little sore still from the horse fall, but my shoulders were on fire.
I had bruises. When we came back from shed hunting, I had bruises right here, like just purple, and then on my hips. Like it matched from where it buckles at your hips and where it's on your shoulders. It's just bruises.
He definitely has a lot of fun in the backpack, and he talked. Actually, he was quiet for most of the hike today, and then towards the end, as he started getting tired, he started talking more. But when I took him off, and my dad and I were getting ready to cold plunge because we cold plunged in
I thought that felt good.
in the lake. Which, quick shout out, today was 152 days straight of cold plunging every single day for me.
Woo-woo.
So shattering limits and ascending daily.
Good discipline.
But when I took him off from my back, well, he's on the backpack, but when I took him off, my dad helped me put him down. I just... I was like, oh my God. Like my shoulders felt so light, and so really my quads, you know how when you hike a lot or run a lot you get the I call it the baby giraffe legs, newborn baby giraffe legs. My legs were just like
got some good perspective of how I did shed hunting, huh?
So my hat's off. Complete respect.
I appreciate it.
I still have no problem carrying him.
Yeah.
But it was a different weight.
It's different than just a normal backpack.
The weight shifts around a lot. He, bounces. It was just a whole different, my hat's off to you.
Well,
that's all I need to say.
He's helping me stay in shape. That's for dang sure, carrying that extra load up there. And he's up high, so it's like he's hovering behind you, but you're like propping it up with your upper body.
Correct.
It's totally different, yeah. So you might have a little bruising there. Might be a little tender for a while. We'll
check after this, but anyways, thank you so much. Thank you for your perspective, and thank you for being vulnerable with us again today. Hopefully everyone has enjoyed your time with us today. We appreciate you. We love you. We always look forward to doing these, and we hope to continue bringing value and tips to your life to help you prosper more and have more enriching relationships. I still need to work on that intro mantra thing that I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I'm going to work on this week. But anyways, have a great week. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We hope you go out there, shatter your limits, and ascend as always. God bless. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.